I keep picking up the Retroid Pocket Mini, and I'm trying to figure out why, because there are a lot of contenders against this device. Like Anbernic have got the RG406H, which in my review I said it's probably the best device Anbernic have ever released. You know, lovely screen, lovely ergonomics, great controls. My only gripe really was the sticky outy sticks, and Anbernic usually have a few software quirks like the display out. I still don't think they have pass-through charging on this, so there's a few little quirks on this one, but definitely a good contender against the Retroid Pocket Mini. Retroid have their own Retroid Pocket 5, which is a fantastic device, probably the device of last year. Very, very nice device and cheaper than the Retroid Pocket Mini. The biggest contender, I think, is the Neo Pocket Micro, which I haven't received for review, but definitely probably the closest contender because it is a tiny device with lots of power with a great screen. So here's the interesting thing. I haven't paid for a lot of the devices here in my studio, and so the downside of that is I need to keep reminding myself, you, the viewer, need to pay for this. And so this is very expensive, and I need to think through, why would someone pay this amount of money for this particular device? I keep bringing that up in my videos because I need to be very mindful of that. But the flip side of that coin is that I can choose any device to play on a daily basis. And for my personal use, I keep picking up the Retroid Pocket Mini more than the Retroid Pocket 5. So let's answer the question, why? And the size versus the performance. Now, we're going to talk about one of the things holding that performance back, but we have the Snapdragon 865 chipset, I think it is, and it technically should be able to play all the way up to Switch emulation. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. But for me, I just like to know that I've got that headroom to play PS2 and GameCube games easily, and any other thing that I want to put on here, it's going to work. And to have it in such a small package, I think is the reason why I keep picking it up. So the other aspect is Android. I use this for my Duolingo and a few other things on a daily basis, playing music. It's really nice for those sorts of things. I got the Retroid dock, and to kind of pop it up and use it for those sorts of things is really handy. So I really like Android for my daily use. And on that note, Android does handle standby very well. I mean, on a lot of our Linux devices, the standby mode is held back actually by the chipset rather than the software. I forget to charge this thing, so it'll be in my desk for like a week and I haven't been using it. Then I pick it up again and it's still got a bit of charge and I can use it. So the standby mode is very handy, especially for someone like me who's using other devices, and then I go back to the device that I want to use and it's still working. The battery's still charged. Ergonomics, you know, you've got the diagonal. If you look at the layout here, we've got more of a diagonal layout from the buttons at the top to the joysticks on here than the Retroid Pocket 5. So the button layout is better on here than the Retroid Pocket 5. Obviously it's you know, it's smaller, but that really doesn't affect your ergonomics. It's got the same ergonomic bumps as the Retroid Pocket 5. So you literally just have a Retroid Pocket 5 with a smaller screen with slightly better ergonomics. So you've got a lot of ergonomics in such a small device. Triggers are really nice, bumpers are really nice, just a lovely experience all around. And that brings me on to the buttons. Buttons are noisy. Like, I can't play a game where I'm doing this if I'm in a quiet room or with my wife or whatever, because it's surely annoying. But other than that, they are very tactile and nice feeling buttons. So I really enjoy them alongside these joysticks. Very, very nice joysticks. Retroid were the first out of these sort of small retro handhelds to introduce these joysticks, and they are very nice on here and really nice for streaming, which we'll get to later. We mentioned the power, then also the screen. I mean, a lot can be said about having just a nice screen. I just love the vibrant colors on all the games that I've played. I've played NES, I've played Game Boy Advance. What have I got here? I've got PS1. I've played some Vita games, 3DS games. They all just look beautiful on the screen. Something I need to mention, you know, I've been using the Neo 2S, which is a very expensive Windows device for my PC gaming, and the rumble motor is not great on that. It's okay, but when it's very quiet, when it's silent, You can actually hear that rumble motor. This is more like an Xbox controller or the 8BitDo controllers. It feels like a Pro controller with the rumble motor, which is another, just a little detail that makes me really enjoy picking this up and playing with it. That's what she said. And then to kind of segue into streaming, if I didn't have the channel and I had to choose a device to do streaming and all my things with, I would probably choose this or the Retroid Pocket 5, just because they have got nice controls. The ergonomics aren't quite on sort of like a 8BitDo controller level, but for a compact streaming device, it's very, very nice. So let's talk about the streaming. Just got to switch things around a little bit. I'm on the couch here, so I may as well give you a very specific scenario that I think will appeal to a lot of people. Let's say, for instance, I didn't have a Windows handheld or a Steamdeck to play my PC games on. This would be a very nice solution for someone who has a laptop somewhere in the house or a PC somewhere in the house. You could link this up to the PC in the house and stream games. Now, I want to illustrate it so you can see how nice this is. So if you picture yourself relaxing, you've got the glasses, or maybe you've got a display out into a TV somewhere in the room. It's very ergonomic. It feels more like the size of a controller. So maybe, I don't know, maybe someone has invented a grip. I'll Google it and put it on the screen now if I find something. But you've got this sort of position, really nice controls. The buttons are arguably some of the nicest buttons around. And now you can stream your favorite PC games in this little scenario. You've got a full gaming setup. You know, there are a lot of caveats to this. Some of these XR glasses, the audio isn't fantastic. This device, and we're going to talk about the hiccups of this later, has some issues with the display out. But overall, this kind of setup is really nice and it's compact. So another thing is, if you are traveling and you want a gaming setup while you're traveling and you travel with your laptop, this is very small. These go into its little pouch. This goes into its little pouch. We're talking a lot of money here, but this is a really nice setup for somebody who doesn't want to buy a Steam Deck or $1,000 Windows handheld PC. So I do this to illustrate what a cool streaming setup this could be for someone out there. If you are more of a retro gamer and maybe you already have some idea of what you would do with the display port out, maybe you have some XR glasses or a display that will work with this. This is a scenario that I think you should consider, because then instead of investing in like a Windows PC gaming handheld that's very expensive, or even a Steam Deck, for a lot of us that is also quite an expense to get into, this might be the solution for you. But the thing we're ignoring here is price. This thing is not cheap. You know, we've got other similar devices like the RG Cube, the RG406H, the Retroid Pocket 5, the Aya Neo Pocket Micro is even cheaper than this. To illustrate, let's tell the story of Joe the retro gamer. Someone commented on my YouTube channel, if you add up the cost of all the small cheap devices you're buying, you could save up for something special like the Retroid Pocket Mini. You could also save a little bit more, and another alternative to the Retroid Pocket Mini is the Anbernic RG Cube, which is lovely, or the Anbernic RG406H, which I mentioned previously. But it doesn't have pass-through charging for external displays, which is a quirk and a real pain if you're planning on docking it, which I haven't spoken about in this video. And you also know there's going to be an Anbernic just around the corner. And that is a legitimate thing, like worrying about whether the thing you just bought is about to become obsolete. So our figurative gamer, Joe the retro gamer, Joe saves his money and eventually spends a bit more on the Retroid Pocket Mini. What is Joe missing out on by buying one device instead of buying these cheaper little handhelds that have such character? He's missing out on options. He could get 2 screen orientations for different systems, or just 2 completely different looking devices. He could get a bigger screen. You know, this 3.7-inch screen is pretty small for the money you're spending. But there are a few technical issues with the Retroid Pocket Mini, so we're going to head over to my desk and talk about those. Currently, the Retroid Pocket Mini ships with Android 10, and there's no official release for an Android like 12 or 13. So there are some quirks alongside that, because certain Android apps just aren't compatible. I've tried to download certain games and apps and they just don't work. And you're going to run into issues with trying to emulate Switch, and emulate Wii U with the new Cemu for Android emulator. And the way it handles display out is funky. Retroid have committed. I went to their Discord and they say that they are officially working on it and that a version of Android 13 will be officially released within the next few weeks. And that post was on the 3rd and we are already the 13th. So let's see. But this last quirk is quite frustrating, and a thing that I think is unacceptable on a device at this price point is when I had those display goggles on, you only get a cloned version of what the screen is on whatever you're projecting it to. So if you plug it into a display, a monitor, or whatever, you are only going to see 4:3 no matter what the aspect ratio of that screen or XR glasses or TV is. Bad grammar. My point is, if you watch a 16:9 movie, it's going to be brought down to a smaller size due to that 4:3 aspect ratio. This is fine for 4:3 content, for games and that sort of thing, but if you are streaming, it is quite a frustration because now your beautiful 16:9 stream games are being reduced to a smaller size and you're not experiencing the full size of your display. So, like I said, I think this is a little bit unacceptable in this day and age for this price. And I really hope that Android 13 comes out soon and that we can fix that issue, because I think the bottleneck is Android 10. But like I said, even with these quirks, I keep picking up the Retroid Pocket Mini more than all my other devices. Did it. Cool. Let's do it, Captain.